The Drifter and the Whisper. The sun sat heavy on his back, hotter than iron fresh from the forge. Dust rose with every step of his horse, curling into his throat like smoke. The saddle creaked, the leather dry as old bones, and the town came into view, just a strip of leaning wood and hollow silence against the desert. The street was empty. No dogs barked, no women fetched water, no hammer rang from a blacksmith shop. Only shutters, half closed, trembled in the heat wind. He reined in the horse at the edge of the street. The animal snorted, ears flicking, uneasy. Something pressed in the air, like a storm that wasn't there yet, like the sound of a gun not yet drawn. A small figure stumbled out of an alley. The child's clothes were torn, face streaked with dust and dried tears. Bare feet slapped the hard-packed road as he ran straight for the rider. The horse skittered back, hooves striking sparks. The Drifter's hand fell to the reins, steadying, but his eyes fixed on the boy. The child clutched his leg, breathless, eyes wide and dark. Lips cracked, voice low as though afraid to be overheard. "Stay with me." The words clung tighter than the child's hands. The Drifter shifted in the saddle, his shadow spilling long over the boy. For a moment, he said nothing. Wind carried a saloon sign squeal, the sound sharp, lonely. His jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing at the buildings. The doors bolted, curtains drawn. A town holding its breath. He swung down slow, boots grinding the dirt. The boy stepped back but didn't let go of his coat. "Where are your folks?" the Drifter asked, voice rough as gravel. The boy swallowed, pointed to the far end of town. A ranch house lay half collapsed, its roof blackened, smoke long gone, but the smell still clinging. The Drifter's throat tightened against the ash that memory always dragged up. "They're gone," the boy whispered. The Drifter's eyes lingered on the ruin. He said nothing. His hand rested near his hip, where a revolver hung loose and quiet, untouched for miles of trail. From a saloon came a scrape, chair legs, hurried footsteps. A door cracked open. Men's voices muttered, then hushed as they caught sight of the stranger standing in the road. The Drifter pulled free from the boy's grip and turned toward his horse. "Please," the boy said, voice breaking. He froze. The sound was too sharp, too raw. His shoulders tensed like leather, stretched to tear. "Please don't go. They'll come back." The words cut through the empty town like a church bell in mourning. The saloon door swung wider. A man leaned out, hat low, eyes narrowing. He spat in the dust, studied the Drifter, then disappeared back inside. The Drifter pulled himself into the saddle. The horse shifted, eager to move, ears flat against the weight of silence pressing down the street. "Stay with me," the boy whispered again, softer this time, like a prayer too small to be answered. The Drifter set his gaze on the horizon, where heat shimmered over the desert like water never meant to be touched. His hand tightened on the reins. His jaw worked as though grinding down words he'd never speak. He nudged the horse forward. The boy stood frozen, a shadow too small against the wide, burning world. Each hoofbeat rang like iron striking a coffin nail. The town stayed quiet, watching through cracks in wood and cloth, their fear hiding in every corner. The boy's voice rose behind him, thin, desperate, carrying on the wind. "Stay with me." The Drifter did not look back. Dust swirled up, cloaking the boy, cloaking the silence. But the words rode with him, sharp as the memory of every life he'd taken, every child left fatherless in his shadow. The desert stretched ahead, but he felt the weight of small hands still clinging to his coat. Ghosts in the dust. The saloon door groaned as it swung, smoke spilling out with the smell of whiskey gone sour. The Drifter pushed through, boots thudding against warped boards. Piano keys stilled mid-note. Cards slapped the table no more. All eyes fixed on him. The room was dim, the air heavy. A lantern hissed, its flame low. Men leaned back in their chairs, hands still on the table, but close, too close, to their hips. The barkeep froze mid-wipe, cloth trembling in his hand. The Drifter stepped to the counter, slow, steady. A coin hit the wood with a sharp ring. "Whiskey," the barkeep poured, eyes flicking to the door, then back to the stranger's hands. The glass slid across, trembling, leaving a wet trail. The drifter lifted it, but before he drank, he caught sight of the mirror behind the counter. Faces reflected, nervous, waiting, measuring. The air pressed like a storm cloud, ready to break. Boots scraped. A chair leg screeched back. 3 men rose, their shadows long against the wall. Hats low, eyes narrow, pistols heavy on their belts. One spoke, voice slow and sharp as a knife, pulled from a sheath. "Didn't think I'd see you again." The saloon stilled. A name hung in the air unspoken, as though saying it might summon the devil himself. The drifter turned, glass still in hand. His eyes cut across the men, but never flinched. "Think you got the wrong man." The second man smirked, crooked teeth flashing. "No mistaken them eyes. Ain't no one forgets a stare like that." The third spat, the wet sound loud in the silence. "Thought you were dead." The drifter set the glass down without drinking. The boards creaked under his weight as he shifted, not fast, not slow. His hand rested easy on the bar. "You want something?" The first man's hand twitched toward his holster. The whole room leaned forward, breath held, waiting for thunder. But the barkeep slammed his bottle down, voice cracking like a whip. "Not in here." The moment hung tight, stretched thin as a noose rope. The drifter's gaze stayed fixed. His jaw locked, his shoulders straight. The men stared back, searching for weakness, finding none. One by one, their hands slipped away from their pistols. They eased back, not in defeat, but in calculation, like wolves circling, waiting for nightfall. The first man spat near the drifter's boot. "You'll wish you kept right enough." They turned and left, spurs ringing like iron nails on the way out. The saloon door swung closed behind them, leaving only the weight of their promise. The drifter lifted the glass again, this time drinking deep. The whiskey burned, sharper than fire, dragging old ghosts up from his gut. A chair scraped from the corner. An old rancher, beard gone gray, leaned forward, voice low, words almost trembling. "You bringin' trouble down on us?" The drifter said nothing. The glass hit the counter again, empty. The rancher's hand shook as he pushed his hat back. "They run the town. Sheriff won't raise a hand. Folk keep quiet, or folk end up like..." He stopped, swallowing, eyes darting toward the window where the boy's shadow still lingered. The drifter stood, the boards groaning under his boots. He left the coin, left the glass, left the silence behind. Out on the street, the air felt heavier. The boy followed, footsteps quick, trying to match his stride. "They know you," the boy said, voice hushed but sharp. The drifter stopped, turned, eyes dark. "Don't follow me." But the boy did, stubborn as desert thorn. "You could fight him." The drifter's jaw worked. His hand twitched near his coat, then dropped. He stepped off into the street, boots dragging dust, shoulders stiff as iron. From the saloon window, faces peered out, fearful, watchful, waiting. Whispers crawled across the boards and rafters like wind through dry grass. The name not spoken, the legend not dead. And the boy, walking at his side, eyes burning with a hope too dangerous to hold. Blood and ashes. Flames licked the night sky, red against the desert black. Smoke curled low across the ground, choking the air. Screams carried through the wind, high and sharp, torn from throats too far gone for help. The boy ran, stumbling over stones, pointing to the blaze. "They're burning him out." His voice cracked, breaking into the crackle of fire. The drifter held him back, hand clamped hard on the boy's arm. The boy thrashed, fist striking against his chest. "Let me go. They're killing them." The heat hit his face, bitter and hot, dragging memory with it. Another fire, another night, bodies falling under the red glow. His grip only tightened. The boy's eyes flared with fury, tears cutting lines through the soot. "You're just like him, just like the sheriff, too scared to fight." The words cut deeper than the boy's fists. The drifter let go, stepped back, shadows flickering over the lines in his face. He turned away, boots grinding the sand. The boy's sobs carried behind him. "Coward!" The desert swallowed the sound as he walked, the fire's glow shrinking against the horizon. Alone, he stopped at the dry bed of a creek, leaned heavy against a boulder, chest heaving. His hands trembled as he stared at them. Hands that once drew faster than thought, hands that buried men in dust. He closed his eyes, but the dark brought no peace. Gunshots cracked across memory, street duels, ambushes in canyons, a dozen faces falling, eyes wide, breath stolen. He heard their voices, one after another, names he'd long since buried. A friend's last breath whispered in his ear, "You'll never outrun it." He jerked awake, sweat cold against the desert chill. The night was quiet now, only the faint glow of dying fire on the horizon. Dawn broke, pale and thin, stretching over the desert like a knife cutting the dark. He rose slow, shoulders heavy but steady. At the creek's edge, he knelt, pulled the revolver from his belt, steel dull from dust and time. He wiped it clean, oiled the chamber, checked the rounds. His hands no longer trembled. A knife came next, edge worn, handle cracked. He sharpened it against stone until sparks danced. Boots laced tighter, hat brim lowered, coat pulled close. When he stood, the weight on him felt different, no longer the burden of running, but the burden of choice made. By the time he stepped back into town, the streets were silent. Ash still clung to the air, drifting from the ranch ruins beyond. Doors opened a crack. Eyes followed him. Whispers chased him. The boy waited at the well, face streaked, eyes swollen from tears. When he saw the revolver low on the drifter's hip, his mouth closed, words caught in his throat. The drifter said nothing, only gave a nod, slow, steady. Hoofbeats thundered then, rolling in from the ridge. Dust rose, shadows moving fast, the gang spilling into town with guns across their saddles, laughter sharp as blades. The townsfolk vanished behind shutters. The saloon door slammed shut. The riders pulled up hard in the middle of the street. At their head sat the outlaw, tall, broad, coat black, eyes burning with fire too much like the drifter's own. His smile split the silence. "Well, I'll be damned," he called, voice carrying. "The ghost himself come back to haunt me." The drifter stepped into the road, dust rising around his boots. The boy stood frozen at the well, watching. The outlaw's laughter echoed, mean and certain. "Thought you swore never to carry iron again. Thought you buried that name." The drifter's hand hovered near his hip, steady, calm. His eyes locked on the man who once rode beside him. The outlaw leaned forward in the saddle, grin sharp as steel. "Guess the past ain't done with either of us." The street went still. The dust hung waiting. Every window was a prayer, every breath a held shot. And the town remembered what it meant to see death standing in the road. The last showdown. The sun struck high, fierce as judgment. Shadows vanished under boots, under hooves, leaving nothing to hide in. The outlaw slid from his saddle, spurs clinking. His men spread wide, rifles loose in their hands, grinned sharp. Dust swirled between them, curling around the drifter standing alone in the road. "Never thought you'd crawl back into the light," the outlaw said, voice carrying like thunder across the boards and glass. The drifter's coat stirred in the wind. His hand hovered near the worn handle at his hip. His eyes never left the man before him. The boy stood by the well, fists clenched, lips pressed tight. His breath came fast, chest rising quick, but he didn't look away. The outlaw laughed low, bitter. "You gonna kill me same as you killed the rest? Go on then. Show these folk the monster you really are." The drifter's jaw locked. The silence cut deep. A crow called from the church steeple. The outlaw's hand dropped. Steel flashed. The street erupted. The drifter moved faster than sight, revolver drawn, fire splitting the air. The first man fell before his rifle lifted. Another spun, hit square in the chest, crashing into dust. Bullets shrieked. Windows shattered. Horses screamed. The boy ducked low, covering his ears as thunder rolled across the town. The drifter advanced, steady, relentless. Each shot cracked clean, no wasted round. Men shouted, cursed, dropped where they stood. Dust clouded thick, choking, but the muzzle flash lit the storm. The outlaw ducked behind a trough, firing wild. Splinters flew from the posts near the drifter's shoulder. One round grazed his arm, blood searing hot down his sleeve. He didn't flinch. He pressed forward, boots sinking in mud where the trough had spilled, eyes locked on the black coat moving through smoke. The last of the gang broke and ran, saddles slapping, horses tearing off down the trail. The street fell to silence, save for the hiss of a lantern guttering out. Only two remained. The outlaw rose slow, revolver still smoking, grin twisting. Always knew it'd end this way. The drifter lifted his gun, arms steady though blood darkened his sleeve. Then ended. For a breath, neither moved. The whole town leaned into the stillness, every soul balanced on the edge of steel. Then, two shots cracked as one. Dust leapt. Echoes rolled. The outlaw staggered, hand clutching his chest, eyes wide, smile breaking into nothing. He fell hard, hat rolling loose across the dirt. The drifter stood firm, revolver smoking, chest heaving. His own side bled, red spreading slow beneath his coat, but his legs held. Silence again. Doors creaked open. Faces peered out. Step by step, folk filled the street, eyes wide, whispers soft. They looked at the bodies, then at the man who had felled them. The boy broke first, rushing across the dust. He stopped short at the drifter's boots, head tilted back, eyes burning bright. "You stayed," he whispered. The revolver slipped heavy back into its holster. The drifter looked down at him, lines cut deep across his face, but something softer in his eyes now. "I stayed." The boy reached for his hand. Small fingers, dust-stained, curled around calloused ones. The drifter let them hold. Behind them, the town stirred, voices rising, courage crawling back into spines bent too long. The legend they'd feared had become the shield they needed. The church bell rang once, deep and slow, carrying across the desert. And the storyteller's voice, low and steady, carried the end of it. Some say he raised that boy as his own, taught him to ride, to fight, to live with honor. Others say he vanished again, a ghost carried off by the wind. But all agree, on that day, when the orphan whispered, "Stay with me," the gunfighter's shadow turned from death to something greater. The wind sighed. The dust settled. The tale lived on.